A very good evening to you and a warm welcome to our program Business Today. And let us now take a look at who our business personality of
Engineer Mr. Mahinda Herath is the Chief Executive Officer at Information and Communication Technology Agency of Sri Lanka. Mr. Mahinda counts over a decade of experience in the C-suite and was the Group Chief Digital Officer at Sri Lanka Telecom Group. He's an ICT specialist with 360-degree exposure in the industry, well versed in the entire value chain of ICT, from strategy formulation, research and development, planning and detailed design, regulation, business administration and management, operations, technology management and steering of company transformations. He is a digital transformation leader steering Sri Lanka Telecom Group's digital transformation. He is a proactive change agent who provided leadership in harmonizing employees' perspective with national policies and strategies of a government monopoly to a market-oriented business entity to ensure win-win solutions for all stakeholders.
We're certainly honored to have with us the Chief Executive Officer of Information and Communication Technology Agency of Sri Lanka, Engineer Mr. Mahinda Herath. A very good evening to you.
Good evening.
And it certainly is an honor to have you here with us in the studios initially. And we did mention that you are the Chief Executive Officer of Icta. So first and foremost, in a layman's point of view, if you could tell us what exactly is Icta and what it does.
Well, ICTA, or Information and Communication Technology Agency of Sri Lanka, is the apex body of the government that is mandated to do the digital transformation of the country. If I say very short, that is the task of ICTA.
In a nutshell, so that's
Yes.
exactly what ICTA does.
Yes.
So let's touch on the importance of having a body of this nature in the country.
As you know, technology plays a very big role in taking the country to the next level, propel the country to the next level. In fact, if you look at the manifesto that was presented by the current President, His Excellency Gotabaya Rajapaksa, when he came to power, National Policy Framework, Vistas and Prosperity of Splendor, it had given a lot of importance for technology. In fact, it had a chapter dedicated for technology, a technology based society. So we need to develop the technology in a way that is systemic, and all segments of the country, all segments of the society get the benefits of technology, and not just for the sake of having a technology, but delivering technology to improve the day-to-day living quality of the masses of Sri Lanka.
And you did mention that technology plays a massive role and that ICTA is responsible of handling this for the whole country. So let's talk a little bit about the government projects Icta is handling right now in terms of providing information technology knowledge to the country.
Yeah. Before I step on to that, let me take a step back and explain the digital transformation strategy Icta has put forward for the country. It has two main pillars, development of the digital economy and development of the digital government for the benefit of the people, for the benefit of the society. Now, in case of digital government, there are many digital projects that are being contemplated, projects that are already in place, projects that will come into action in a little time ahead. One of the most critical projects, I would say, is the Sri Lanka Unique Digital Identity Project, which would be, I would say, the mother of all projects that would drive the digital transformation, that would make the digital transformation democratized, so that all segments of the people would be able to use the digital benefits of the digital transformation. Apart from that, there are many other major projects that have been planned or in motion at the moment. Another big project is the court automation project, automating the whole court system in the country. Then we are also having the digital health project. Then another important project is e-Gramanildari project. There are more than 14,000 Gramanildari divisions in the country. All those Gramanildari divisions would be automated and taken into one network through that project. Likewise, there are a number of projects. If I may start giving you the list, we have over 20 projects that are being carried out right now.
And this certainly would require a lot of time to complete these projects.
Yeah.
So, well, Mr. Herath, you did mention that one of the main project happens to be digital transformation of identification cards and all that.
Yeah.
So, tell us the advantages of transforming everything into digital format.
Like now digital transformation is economists call the digital transformation as a general purpose technology. A general purpose technology is a technology that would go to each level of the society, that would pervade everywhere of the society and change the way the country is operating, change the economy and bring benefits to the country. So, digital transformation is extremely important to take the country in this digital world and keep Sri Lanka on par with the rest of the world. But the most important thing is the benefits of the digital transformation should go to all the people. There should not be a digital divide. The people who are digitally literate as well as people who are not digitally literate should be able to reap the benefits of the digital transformation. So, digital transformation is a journey. It's a journey. We are developing an ecosystem that would nurture the digital transformation, incubate the digital transformation and evolve into a state where all the segments of the society can get benefits out of that.
Now, Mr. Herath, can you elaborate on the digital transformation of hospitals?
Yeah, actually there is a project right now going on called HHIMS, Hospital Health Information System, that is right now available in about 40 hospitals. This system has been developed by Icta over a number of years, and again there is another system called HIMS, which has been developed by the medical informatics team of the health ministry. At this moment there is initiative to bring these two together under a common digital health architecture, and actions are being taken to develop that and take it to all the hospitals throughout the country. So, with that solution, a patient who will walk into the OPD, right from the moment he enters the OPD, he will be treated, he will be taken through the hospital in a digital world.
Now, speaking of that, I think now previously you did mention that the people who are literate and who are not IT literate should reap the benefits of this digital transformation. So,
yeah.
How would this work in the rural areas of the country?
Yeah, I mean that is a very good question, a very pertinent question. Now, digital transformation is for the nation, and I believe that more than 75%, if I am not mistaken, are not in urban settings in this country, and probably about 45% of the population are without smartphones, 50 to 55%. So, the most important thing is people should have the affordability, availability and applicability. In case to develop the applicability, you have to give them the digital literacy. There should be a motivation for them to go for digital literacy. If the digital solution we are creating brings benefit to the day-to-day life of the people, they will be motivated, compelled to go for digital literacy. Apart from that, creating the motivation on one side, we have a majority of our projects are based on capacity building for various levels of the society, starting from the university graduates, the school leavers, the vocational people who are doing the vocational training, right up to the society, a social-based education. So we have a very elaborate capacity building program in place to address the whole, all segments of the society.
That certainly is important, and as the main body related to ICT, I think you have a major responsibility and trying to spread awareness in terms of the importance of being digitally literate. And speaking of the hospitals once again, so what would be the advantage for the patients when this is fully digitalized?
Now just imagine now, if you have your health records in a digital system, when you walk into the hospital, when you first go into hospital and get in registered to the system, and your records go into the system, every time you visit, your records will be available in the system. And as you progress in your medical journey, all your new symptoms, everything will be recorded in the system, and you will be just walking into the hospital without carrying any documents, and your whole medical history will be available to a doctor checking the patient. Whichever place the patient is going, whichever hospital the patient is going, the patient will have the benefit of having his records available at any given hospital.
So this will be connected to private hospitals as well?
Initially we are doing this mostly for the government hospitals, but it does not prevent the private hospitals coming into the system. So it is part of the digital economy. So the way we are developing that, it will be beneficial for the private hospitals also to come and join the bandwagon.
Exactly. And speaking of digitalizing or digital transformation of identification cards as well, so will this connect with the digital transformation of hospitals as well? So
yes, as I said earlier, the Sri Lanka Unique Digital ID would be the root of all the digital projects. It will have the biometrics and the biographic data of a person coupled together. It will have the iris, the fingerprint, and the Icta photograph coupled to his biographic details, and that digital identity information would be fed to each and every digital solution a government would provide to the society. So this is the core or the root or the DNA of the whole digital system we are going to develop.
And how will digital transformation of a country contribute to the economy of the country?
Actually now I will take, without going into a lot of theory, I can give you a very practical and simple example. If you have digitally, if you can order something, digitally if you can get yourself checked by a doctor right from the home, you need not go to the hospital, you need not go to the supermarket. There itself you save your time, you save the energy, you save, you prevent pollution by not using a vehicle. These are very simple examples, but if you take at a big, the national level, the benefits to the economy would be immense, because most of the things can be done remotely, saving energy, saving time, and saving mental transaction cost also.
And well, as the main body related to the ICT sector of the country, what do you intend to do in terms of spreading awareness to the rural community in terms of being literate in ICT?
Yeah, actually ICT has a very elaborate capacity building program which has a special focus on the rural segments. Now we have several programs. One program which has been internationally acclaimed is a program called Suhuruliya, where we get the rural women to get involved in ICT, use ICT to improve their small scale businesses, and bring them to a level where they can deal with the digital society. Then there is this smart social circle. It's also a village level organization where village level opinion leaders and influential people will get together to spread the the message of the digital transformation to the masses and get them involved. So likewise, we have a number of projects, a number of capacity building projects focused for the rural folks.
And there's also a new project called the Techno Park.
Yes.
Can you tell us more about this?
Yeah, actually, Techno Park is the latest concept that is coming out. The plan is to have 5 techno parks in the country. This has been spearheaded by the Ministry of Technology, our line ministry. The techno park would be, I would say, centers of excellence. The techno parks will have all the facilities to incubate development of industries. There will be universities affiliated to the techno parks. There will be a environment to attract investors to come in and invest in the techno parks, people to build up their businesses there, startups to come and flourish there. So techno parks will have a lot of facilities. The techno parks will have the latest technological capabilities. The plan is to have 5G coverage on all the techno parks. They will have uninterrupted power. Most of the techno parks will have residential facilities for the people who are working there, recreational facilities for the people who are working there, state of the art facilities for them to set up their businesses and work, all the communication facilities, all the infrastructure facilities. And as I said again, I will reiterate, those would be centers of excellence to nourish the digital transformation of this country.
That sounds pretty interesting, and you said that there is a plan to have 5 techno parks. So
Yes.
what would be the locations like?
At the moment, I think 4 locations have been selected: Kandy, Galle, and these are the 2 locations that are confirmed. 2 other locations are being discussed, but for the moment, these 2 locations are confirmed.
Right, so
Yeah.
there will be 5 techno parks in the future. And what would we gain out of it?
Well, actually, now these techno parks would have facilities to promote investment, bring foreign direct investment, and also the techno parks will provide the ecosystem where local companies can invest and grow to take their inventions to the world.
So this applies to people who are starting off as well.
Yes, startups would have a special place in the techno parks.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like an invitation for all the youth out there to work on maybe being innovative. So
Yes.
what would you like to tell the youth out there who are tuned in about the importance of being IT literate, and where should they start?
Well, if you look at the world, most of the innovations have sparked off from IT. If you take the recent times, and very small startups have become world-renowned organizations, world-renowned businesses. And if you see, most of these innovations and most of these startups have been started by youth. Sometimes some of these youth have learned their IT at a very later stage, but they have innovated something that had become very popular all over the world, given benefits to the people who are using that innovation. So I think IT is a area where youth can thrive, and I think the modern youth, their brains are wired. I believe that their brains are wired to adapt to IT, to adapt to ICT, not like our generation, but the youth, their brains are wired to adapt to ICT adoption.
And we've come towards the latter part of the program as well, Mr. Herath. So since you did give advice in terms of the importance of being IT literate, as a final, I mean, where does Sri Lanka stand in terms of IT literacy right now?
Well, if you compare the region, in our region, Southeast Asia, Sri Lanka is of course in the forefront. But if you take the world standards, I don't think we can say that. We have a long way to go, but we have seen a lot of potential in Sri Lanka. The Sri Lankan people, especially the Sri Lankan youth, they have very innovative ideas. They are ready to learn, and they are, as I said earlier, their brains are wired to take on ICT. So I think Sri Lanka has a very good potential to grow based on ICT and go and dominate the world one day.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mahinda Herath, for being a part of the show, and it was really nice talking to you on this important topic of ICT.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And with that, we conclude the first segment. We'll be back with our second. Of the program, which is the market discussion.
Mrs. Dilini Jayasuriya is the founder and director at Breakthrough Business Intelligence. She has been instrumental in providing strategic direction for some of the leading brands in the country and in the region through research insights during her career spanning for over 21 years in the field of marketing research. Some of the leading local and global clients she has worked with include the Ceylon Tobacco Company, Fonterra Sri Lanka, Hemas Hospitals, Union Assurance, GSK, Unilever Sri Lanka, and Brand Finance. She specializes in the areas of brand strategy management and customer segmentation. Dilini was appointed as a research consultant to UNICEF Maldives in 2008 based on her contribution in handling the project on violence against children. And in 2010, she was appointed as an external research consultant of UNOPS Sri Lanka. Post her tenure as acting head of a leading multinational agency, she founded Breakthrough Business Intelligence, a boutique marketing research agency committed to providing insightful partnerships that drive bottom-line results for clients.
We have with us the founder director of Breakthrough Business Intelligence, Mrs. Dilini Jayasuriya, to talk on the importance of research. A very good evening to you.
Good evening, and thank you for the invitation.
So first and foremost, I would like to touch on why Breakthrough Business Intelligence. Why was this founded?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. We founded our company 12 years ago simply because we saw an opportunity for a company that is talking about true insights partnership, because over there are many companies ranging from multinationals to more local outfits. 12 years ago, we saw this opportunity for a company that is truly Sri Lankan, that will help companies in Sri Lanka, be it a multinational or a startup, that will really help them in terms of truly partnering them in that search for insights. So given that, we wanted to focus on really helping our clients grow. So we would call ourselves a growth-related agency. At the end of the day, what we try to do is work in the knowledge industry, provide our clients with insights that will help them grow by eliminating or minimizing the risk that they would face with the various decisions that they take. So that's the answer to that.
And well, this was founded some time ago,
yes,
as you mentioned, so it's over a decade.
Yeah.
So what keeps you going?
Okay, so what really keeps me going is the fact that I've been in the industry for a while, is that every day, as I said earlier, it's a knowledge industry that we work in, and every day is a new challenge. Simultaneously, at any given time, we work on multiple assignments. If you typically take a job, you will be if you take banking, you'll only be looking at banking. If you take finance, it's just finance, right? If it's healthcare. But in the industry of research, we work on multiple projects. So at any given time, every brief is a new assignment. So you end up learning so much, accumulating so much knowledge about products and services, about your consumer, about local sentiments. So it's really that knowledge accumulation and getting to know the true hearts and minds of the local consumers that keeps me going.
So it's like basically working with many people from different areas.
That's correct,
in the industry,
yeah.
Or maybe not in the market industry itself. It could be anything.
Yes, in fact, it's not, in terms of the work we do, it's not just organizations who are predominantly into marketing. We also work with the government, we also work with development agencies. Like for example, we may have donor agencies who wants to come up with a program that will benefit so many beneficiaries. So it's about going and finding out what does the true consumers want, what does the beneficiaries want, what do people of different segments really require. So in a sense, the work that we do tells our clients what to market, how to market, and who to market.
And Diri, what is the role played by marketing research in decision making?
That's a very interesting question. See, if you take decisions, all of us make decisions, whether we are working for a corporate or whether even if it's like a simple decision like, taking a journey. So what market research essentially does is it looks at eliminating or minimizing some of the risk associated with the decision. The concept of market research is known by many, a lot of undergraduates and postgraduate studies, people who are studying for these programs end up doing market research as a part of their curriculum or part of the academic work. But what market research does is, whilst working on the same scientific principles, what we do is we actually look at gathering consumer insights or segment insights to really look at reducing the risk associated with decision making. For example, just to illustrate that point, if you are going to launch a product, right? Now you may have 3 products that you have shortlisted. Now you want to know which of these products are really going to be accepted by the market. So our job as researchers is to go out there, take a representative sample, take a very scientific approach, go out there and identify what really sits in with the segment better. What is the price point that they are willing to pay? What kind of channels would they like to see? What kind of promotional material should be approaching to them? So across different aspects, we are trying to really see how can our clients market a product or a service or a program that they want to take in terms of that will be beneficial to their organization, to their segment, as well as to the country by and large.
And what's interesting here is that you have to do a lot of research in terms of trying to find out what would suit your client best.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about your team.
Okay, so I've got a very interesting team, and that's one thing that keeps me going. It's a very young team. So in Sri Lanka, we've got about 35 people who are working full time with us. These people are essentially knowledge workers who are ranging from statisticians to marketing professionals to people from psychology background. So this team essentially, and we have a very linear structure. Even in, we've also recently explored markets like Bangladesh and Maldives. So we've got similar teams there, not so much so in terms of numbers, but similar profile. So essentially these teams, as I said, it's a very linear structure, and because they're knowledge workers, you can't supervise them or kind of overlook their shoulders like the big brother is always watching them. They are given a lot of independence and they work on a project-based assignment. And one thing that I must say is these teams and these members are really hardworking. They're very committed to the task, and to them a task becomes done and over with when they deliver their insight to the client. And keeping in line with our philosophy, they end up working alongside our clients, helping them actually make decisions, be it launching a product or be it launching that communication, really taking that product to the market and helping them to strategize that.
And Delini, does this apply only to bigger brands, known brands? What about small startups, SMEs?
Okay, I think given this macro environment today, multinationals or bigger conglomerates are one segment or two types of organizations that definitely should do market research. But more importantly, given the volatility of the environment today, SMEs, startups, micro enterprises, everyone can really benefit from market research because you make decisions, right? And the cost of failure is going to be so much higher because sometimes we have entrepreneurs who are working in micro enterprises who have really invested, let's say, their entire life savings on trying to launch a product, right? So you do really go blindly into the market, or you do it based on your gut, right? So sometimes speaking to 5 or 10 people is better than speaking to nobody. So that whatever the information you can gather helps, but going into a structured, a more planned out market research approach definitely helps you in terms of, as I said, minimizing your risk.
So now let's say someone wants to start up a business, maybe a product launch or some institution, they want to start off, it's a startup. How long would it take for you to do the research and tell them, okay, now you're through, you can do this business comfortably?
That really depends on the scope of the assignment. For example, if it's an all-island study, it takes a lot more time. If it's qualitative versus quantitative based on what the methodology is, it really takes time. So typically our projects range from 4 to 6 weeks or even longer if it's like more of an equity study. So what's really important is not completing the research, but after the research, taking those insights and helping our clients to make meaningful decisions. To me, the real engagement starts at that point. So I would say our engagement is very long at Breakthrough. Most of the work we do ends up just going in for months and months because we are really helping our clients to make those decisions.
Right, and well, it certainly requires a lot of time and effort to decide on helping the client decide on what they should be doing, because it's kind of their whole life saving, maybe, as you did mention previously.
Yeah, if it's a micro or a small enterprise.
Exactly,
yes.
if it's a startup, just a very SME, small enterprise.
Yeah.
So how important is it to do a market research with uncertain times? We have faced unexpected crisis in the country as well. So how important is it to kind of still continue doing the research even if we go through crises like that?
See, the most important time to do research is when times are uncertain, right? Not when there's a lot of certainty. When you're doing good, it's always good to do research, but when things are uncertain, it's always important to do it, because what happens is, in times of uncertainty, consumer behavior tends to change a lot. For example, during periods of lockdown, all of us changed our behaviors. And it is therefore that much more important for marketers, for decision makers to identify how can I adapt myself, be it a service, be a product. It could be the channels of delivery, or it could be the communication itself. So this volatility really requires market research, because you are really trying to see in a new normal environment or during periods of a lot of uncertainty, turbulence, how can I still reach out to my segments? So that's a very important time to do research.
And how has the industry been impacted by the current pandemic situation? What measures have you taken to adapt to overcome these barriers? And obviously it's not an easy period for people around the world. It's not only Sri Lanka.
Yeah. So like everywhere in the world, like most organizations, like almost every industry, we've been severely affected in Sri Lanka in terms of the market research industry. Our challenge, Shafiqa, is actually essentially threefold, right? One is, when we go out there and gather data from different market segments, it requires us to have our feet on the ground. So it's about data collectors, enumerators, going out there and knocking on doors and shops and speaking to people. So during lockdown, during health and safety concerns, during those times we can't go out there and engage in our normal methods. The second component is, like most industries, getting the people, our enumerator teams, to really come from various parts of the countries to come into Colombo, get a briefing from us, understand the requirement of a client, and go back into their centers and start collecting data. So we had this dual challenge. The third challenge is, most companies who we work with, by and large as an industry as well as in our own company, wanted to understand the consumer behavior during this pandemic period. So we had clients who wanted to work, but we actually had a problem in getting our resources sorted out. But I must say our industry was very quick to adapt. We looked at quite a few measures in terms of how can we overcome this. So hats off to our industry. We have something called the Market Research Society. All of us work together. Then we also have come together with all the communication agencies, and we formed a Marcom collective where we have gone to the government to get certain relief measures for the industry in terms of taxation, etc. So that's in terms of what we have done as an industry. In terms of breakthrough, what we did was we were really quick to start adopting things like online panels. So whilst we couldn't get our manpower out there and feet on the ground, we looked at getting our consumers to start giving us feedback on products, services, their behavior, consumption changes in terms of online, because that space was available. And we did see an increased usage in terms of online platforms. So that has really helped us to cut through the barrier and be a lot more effective during the COVID period.
So now breakthrough business intelligence has been around for 12 years,
yes,
as you mentioned. So I'm sure you've carried out a lot of researches and observations with regard to emerging behavioral trends. So what are these emerging behavioral trends which could have an impact in Sri Lanka?
There are a couple of trends that we have closely monitored that will affect the country by and large into the future. One of the main concerns that are there is the demographic shift that's happening. What I mean by that is, if you look at Sri Lanka, we have an aging population. When you have an aging population, it's a growing aging population. And when you have a population that's increasingly becoming older, the kind of services they require in terms of, say, private health care, insurance, even in terms of entertainment, all these services are going to be on the, I would say, on the rise, as well as the nature of how they are being accessed is going to change. So that's one aspect of it. The second aspect is we are also going to be seeing a lot of non-commutable diseases that's going to be there, the rise in NCDs, which is also going to bring out a lot of lifestyle changes in the Sri Lankan consumer. So one such change is this whole embracing of health and well-living. So today we see many consumers, urban and rural alike, getting more conscious about their health and embracing the concept of well-living. Now this concept of well-living is going to really have an impact on goods and services that they consume. One of the other aspects which I would like to touch is this whole embracement of technology. Today, if you look at it, from using a smartphone or owning a smartphone before COVID, today people are beginning to use it, do online learning with it. So your interaction with technology in a very sensible manner is going to be on the rise. And we all know, with technology adaptation coming in, how you interact with brands, categories, products, your lifestyle is completely going to change. That's going to have a big impact in terms of Sri Lanka, Sri Lankan consumers. Another aspect which is very interesting is, if you look at it from a income perspective, what we saw before COVID hit the world is the fact that lots of Sri Lankans were traditionally looking at, if you look at even our parents, they were not really looking at living their life through debt financing. Then when it came to our generation, a lot of them were pro-debt, they were living off their credit card, taking bank loans just to maintain a lifestyle. Something that COVID brought about is the fact that, and we see this behavior, is that people are now prone to becoming more savings oriented. So they are now looking at, where can I put my cash in an emergency that I can still access. So this whole change in behavior is going to change, especially in terms of how we talk about our finances, our financial behavior by and large. And a very interesting phenomenon that we have observed is also how these social income groups are changing. Earlier, you had the richest of the rich, then you have a, mass market, then you have the bottom of the pyramid. That's from a very layman's perspective. But today we are going to be looking at an emerging middle class. This is where you will have a segment of the population who are not very educated. They may not even study up to their graduate studies, but they are going to be having a high disposable income. For example, today a food rider or a taxi rider, right, is earning couple of thousand, 100,000 rupees. They are going to be really changing their consumption patterns and their lifestyle, but from an education perspective, they are not going to be really having a high level of education. Now this emerging middle class is also going to change our market dynamics. So in summary, I would say the aging population, that's going to really change how brands are being interacted with. Secondly, the NCD increase, and this is a phenomenon as a country's income develops. As we go into a more middle income country, you're going to be having a rise in NCDs. NCDs is one aspect of it. The whole health and wellness embracement that's happening. Also, if you look at it, the technology uptake that's happening, and the emerging middle class and how we interact with our cash from a very debt dependent culture to a more cash saving culture. That's something that we are seeing. And finally, something very interesting we've been noticing is how our consumption patterns with regard to food is changing because of all these aspects.
Exactly. Now that, well, you've made some observations with regards to what we are likely to be impacted by, what do you think as of final is the best solution for Sri Lanka to have a good stable economy?
See, that's a question that cannot be answered in a minute or two, but in summary, I think Sri Lanka should look at a sustainable development approach. Development is needed for a country, but I think what we really need to focus is sustainable development. When I talk about sustainability, I'm not just talking about the environment, I'm talking about livelihood of people, sustaining the livelihood of people, sustaining our ecosystems, sustaining our supply chains, because supply chains got really disrupted during COVID. So we need to look at sustainable development that will help increase our GDP. We need to look at development in a more systematic manner, because at the end of the day, even doing market research, what we are really doing is helping companies to increase their profits and thereby contributing to the GDP, right? So if you are looking at development, to me, the goal for Sri Lanka should be sustainable development.
Well, thank you very much, Dilini, for being a part of the show. It was really nice talking to you.
Likewise, thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you so much for touching on the topic of research, and I'm sure many of us did learn a lot on how important research is. And with that, it's time for us to conclude this episode of Business Today.